Nächster Halt, Boppard Hauptbahnhof. Bitte beachten Sie, dass aufgrund der niedrigen...
A couple of months before, my wife and I were on a holiday to Germany and Austria. And a part of our holiday was about jumping between trains, trams, and buses. So here's to everything that worked for us and a couple of things that quite really didn't while we were using the public transport systems in both of these nations. Our holiday started off with us landing into the Frankfurt airport from Chennai, India, and from Frankfurt airport we made our way to Cologne. In Cologne, we spent 2 days exploring the city, exploring the Cologne Cathedral, and from Cologne we came down to Stuttgart, where we wanted to visit the Porsche Museum and the Mercedes Museum, of course. And from Stuttgart, we made our way to Munich. And in Munich, we spent 3 days in Munich exploring the city, exploring Berchtesgaden. Not really exploring Berchtesgaden, we wanted to visit the Kelstein's house, which is in Berchtesgaden. So we went to Berchtesgaden, and after the 3 days, we made our way to Salzburg, which is in Austria but bordering Germany. And we spent another day in Salzburg, and then we made our way to Vienna from Salzburg. And in Vienna, we spent 2 days in Vienna. We were exploring the city, exploring the cafes before exiting Europe from the Vienna airport. So that is pretty much what our holiday was all about. And now let me take you through how our experiences were with the public transport system, how the Deutschland ticket came up in the picture and all of that. To start off with, the Deutschland ticket. It's this 58 euro ticket that basically allows you unlimited travel in regional public transport systems within Germany and sometimes to certain bordering towns next to Germany, like Salzburg in our instance. Now, we landed in Frankfurt, and as per plan that I made sitting in Chennai, the plan was we would land in Frankfurt airport 8:30 in the morning after a long late night flight, which was 13 hours from Chennai to Frankfurt with a layover in Dubai. I really didn't factor that fatigue that much into the overall equation, so the plan was we would land in Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt at 8:30 in the morning we would work our way to Cologne. And we had the Deutschland ticket, the free ticket that takes you, not the free exactly, but yeah, once you take the ticket, then we have unlimited travel in regional public transport systems. We thought we would use that 100%, and I couldn't be so wrong with that decision. Let me tell you why. The Deutschland ticket is a great ticket. The point is, after a 13-hour flight, figuring our way through multiple trains to Cologne is kind of a challenge, because the Deutschland ticket, because it's restricted to regional trains, you would not or will not find a train that directly takes you from the Frankfurt airport directly to Cologne. Well, we do have trains that take you directly from Frankfurt airport to Cologne, the EasyJet 8 trains, but that's out of reach for the Deutschland ticket. So what the app showed and what we did was to take an S-Bahn from Frankfurt airport. And well, there's some explanation that I have to do there, because if you're like us who end up in Terminal 2 of Frankfurt airport, if you're flying Emirates or if you're flying United Airlines and the likes, which end up in Terminal 2, the Terminal 2 is not exactly close to the railway station. Then you have to take a shuttle bus from Terminal 2 to Terminal 1, and in Terminal 1 the railway station is right opposite to Terminal 1, but then you have to figure this out. And the railway station doesn't really have a gleaming board that says railway station there. So, I guess maybe the board was there, but for my wife and I, we kind of struggled to figure where the railway station was. But it's directly opposite to the Terminal 1. If you're in Terminal 2, make your way to Terminal 1. And in Terminal 1, the long distance trains comes at the top, and all the S-Bahns and the U-Bahns comes at the basement. Since we had the Deutschland ticket, we went to the basement. Now, in the basement, we took a S-Bahn from Frankfurt airport to Mainz. And in the app at that point in time, we had to then take another train from Mainz to a place called Koblenz. And from Koblenz, we had to take another train from Koblenz to Cologne. We really didn't have a single train that takes you all the way. Now, at certain times of the day, they do have a train that connects Mainz directly to Cologne. I mean, it's there. It's just that the point at which we were checking for a ticket or for a train that comes under the Deutschland ticket, we really didn't have a train that connects Mainz directly to Cologne. So what we did was we came to Mainz and took another train from Mainz to Koblenz, and then changed platforms and so on and so forth. And then we went from Koblenz all the way to Cologne. Now, after a 13-hour late overnight flight, that in economy class, this isn't the most pleasurable ride that you can have. I'm not blaming the trains. The trains were great. In fact, the views outside the train was to die for. I mean, it was beautiful because all the regional trains, the tracks are laid right next to the river Rhine. So the view outside the window was to die for. It was so beautiful. But we were super tired. And so it is always recommended that you kind of plan it different if you are like us and you are already having a very long flight to deal with before you reach Frankfurt and you're planning to use the Deutschland ticket. Now, had I been planning this holiday with the knowledge I have now, what I would have done is I would have gone from the Frankfurt airport directly to Mainz. I would have stayed in Mainz for a day. I would have enjoyed the wine and the beautiful city that Mainz is. Great city for a day. And I would have worked my way to Cologne the next day morning. I mean, I would have enjoyed the morning day break with the river Rhine. And yeah, we anyways made quite a bumpy ride all the way to Cologne. And in Cologne, we stayed in a hotel that was 600 meters away from the railway station. Pretty nice hotel. And most of the places that we want to visit were, say, 4 to 5 kilometers around the place that we were staying. So we ended up walking to all the places, though the Deutschland ticket allows you to pick up any public transport systems. We really didn't do that. We were walking to all the places that we wanted to visit. So yeah, I couldn't really comment down the public transport systems in Cologne because we were walking. By the way, great city to walk and go to places. It's just beautiful if you're there on a summer. And then from Cologne, after 2 days in Cologne, we worked our way down to Stuttgart. And this is where things get interesting. So if you're going to Stuttgart and using the Deutschland ticket for it, except if you're taking an easy, it's a completely different story. But it's expensive. What you do is you once more pick the train from Cologne all the way to Mainz. When we were leaving Cologne, we got the train that connects Cologne directly to Mainz. So we really didn't change tracks and all of that until Mainz. So we took that train, came all the way to Mainz. And again, the journey was brilliant. It was early morning, right next to the river Rhine. I can put up a couple of videos here and there. It's just a beautiful ride. It's just beautiful. Once we reached Mainz, we had to then go to a place called Karlsruhe, and from Karlsruhe we had to take another train to Stuttgart, to make it all work within the Deutschland ticket. The train from Mainz to Karlsruhe was kind of crowded, not very crowded, it was kind of crowded, and we had to wait for half an hour to 45 minutes with bags and all of that to get a seat. But yeah, finally we got a seat. And then we reached Karlsruhe, and from Karlsruhe to Stuttgart, the next train, it was a cute little good-looking train, but very small. It was more of a glorified bus of sorts. And we entered this train to make our way to Stuttgart. Well, this train that was the worst train journey we ever had, to be honest, because it was cramped. There were a lot of people. We got a jump seat right next to the toilet, and the toilet doors were opening every now and then. So not the most pleasurable train rides we ever had, but we survived and we reached Stuttgart. In Stuttgart, we went to Porsche Museum, Mercedes Museum. We could figure our way through the U-Bahns and S-Bahns that takes you to both of these museums. Stuttgart public transport system is overwhelmingly confusing if you are, say, there for the first time. It takes, say, a couple of rides for you to get used to it, because there's just a whole load of connections all across the city. So you have to kind of get used to it for a bit. But then, you give it enough thought and use Google Maps the way it's supposed to be used, I don't think you'll have that much of a difficulty with the Stuttgart public transport systems. But yeah, give it a bit of thought. It's not very intuitive, but it's not very difficult either. So that was with Stuttgart. And from Stuttgart, then our way to Munich, we thought we'll try out the ICEs, or the ICE trains as they are called, the intercity expresses, because the last experience with the Deutschland ticket and the crowd and all of that, we thought we'll take ICE. And the train, I guess we spent 126 euros for two people between Stuttgart and Munich, but I believe it was, I won't say it's worth it, but it was a pretty good ride. 3 stops in between, and we got almost a cabin for ourselves. The only problem was we popped ourselves into the silent cabin, where you're not supposed to really speak and only whisper, because people were reading books and all of that. It's a silent cabin, you're not supposed to speak. We kind of got ourselves into that, and we had the bags and stuff, so let's say we didn't have the energy to move into another cabin, so we thought, well, let's just sit out and enjoy, and we reached Munich. In Munich, again, we didn't use the public transport systems at all, because we were staying very next to the old town. The places that we wanted to visit within a day were all around the same place, so we really didn't use the public transport to go anywhere here and there. So experience is still, I couldn't comment well on the Munich public transport systems, but we had a Sunday in between, and Sundays in Germany, you really do not have anything to do on a Sunday. So we thought of going to the Berchtesgaden, the Kelsteinshaus, or the Eagle's Nest as it's popularly known. So what we did was, again, use the Deutschland ticket, use the regional train from Munich early in the morning all the way to a place called Freilassing. And from Freilassing, we took another bus, again covered by the Deutschland ticket, to a place called Berchtesgaden. And from Berchtesgaden, we took another bus that takes you all the way to Kelsteinshaus. Now, it takes you till the ticketing counter of the Kelsteinshaus. From there, you have to book a 30 euro ticket that takes you all the way up to the Kelsteinshaus, or the Eagle's Nest. But then again, until the ticketing point, everything was covered by the Deutschland ticket. Again, Deutschland ticket to the rescue, no problems at all. And we made our way back to Munich as well using the same ticket. And on the third day, after exploring Munich and Berchtesgaden, we were on our way to Salzburg. And it so happens that the same train that took us to Freilassing, which is bordering Germany and Austria, it's the same train that crosses Freilassing and ends up in Salzburg, apparently the next stop. So we took the same train with the same Deutschland ticket, and we crossed the German border into the Austrian border to Salzburg, and everything was covered in the Deutschland ticket. So a lot of people have this question, if you are in regional train and you're covered by the Deutschland ticket, what if you cross the border? That's also covered in the Deutschland ticket. You don't have to take another ticket as long as you are within the regional trains that are covered by the Deutschland ticket. It doesn't matter even if you cross a border or two. I mean, not two, but a border. You get the point. And once we ended up in Austria, of course, Deutschland ticket is no more valid because we've entered another country. There we spent a day. We took a day's ticket in Salzburg, which now in hindsight I would suggest that you don't take it if you're someone like me and my wife who loves to walk. A public transport ticket for a day in Salzburg really doesn't make sense. First of all, we were staying right next to the places that we wanted to visit, like the Mozart's residence and the hill where you have the fort and all of that, and the Mirabel Gardens and everything else. We were staying quite close to it, but then we walked to all the places, so it really doesn't matter if you take a public transport ticket or not. The day pass, you can take the day pass from the railway station. It's 4 euros a person. But think about it. For us, we never used it. We took the ticket but never used it. And the next day, we then made our way from Salzburg to Vienna. Now, when we were going to Vienna, that's where something interesting happened. We never booked any rail tickets in advance because we wanted to optimize our time. What if we wanted a few more hours in Salzburg? Then maybe we could take a train later. And so we always kept our tickets fluid. We never booked it. We always booked it at the last moment. And Deutschland ticket gives you this flexibility of choosing any ticket in Germany. Well, in Austria, you have to book a ticket. So we had to do a late booking, and most of the tickets were quite expensive when I checked the OBB Austrian ticketing app and all of that. But then there was this app called Omio, OMIO. I'll link the app down below. I believe it's called Omio. Yeah, it is Omio. In this app, I figured out a ticket that went for 70 euros for two people between Salzburg and Vienna. It was an RJX train, and this ticket was coming in for the first class ticket. And the second class for the same train came for a much higher price in the Omio app. So it was a no-brainer. We directly booked the first class ticket and we took that train. I guess we booked it half an hour before, and we just packed our bags and rushed to the railway station. We were staying right next to the railway station in a place called Cocoon, and we made our way directly to the railway station and took the train and got ourselves to Vienna. In Vienna, Vienna is a very big city, and we couldn't walk through the city and visit all the places. Quite a big city. So we went ahead and took a 48-hour pass for Vienna. And we really used that pass. We went all across the city. We visited a couple of cafes. We wanted to see the river Danube and all of that. We went all across the city and we used the 48-hour pass. So if you're in Vienna, do consider taking the pass, because the city is quite big. You can't really reach everywhere by walking, even if you're staying quite close to one or two important places. It's all scattered across the city is what I'm trying to say. And then last but not least, we were exiting Vienna, and we were exiting from the Viennese airport. And Viennese airport, mind you, is not in Vienna city. So if you've taken a pass for Vienna city, that doesn't work for your transit between Vienna city and the airport. You got to take another ticket. Now, this is where there's a tourist trap. There are two tickets, by the way, that takes you to the Vienna airport. One is the City Airport Express, something of that sort. Basically, the train that connects city to the airport. It comes for around 7 euros a person. And then you also have the RJ and the RJX trains that connects other parts of Vienna to Vienna airport, that also passes through Vienna city. And the tickets in these trains are a lot cheaper than the other one. In fact, half the price of the CTA, if I'm not wrong. Tickets between basically the shuttle service that works between the city and the airport, the train service. So this was advised by our hotel receptionist, who said, there's this tourist trap. Do not book this ticket. Book a ticket in the RJ or the RJX, which comes for what, €4.50 or something, which practically takes you on the same journey with the same amount of time, 15 minutes from the city to the airport, for half the price. So we booked an we booked an RJX ticket on a train that then took us from the Vienna city to the airport. It's not very difficult to figure out the airport once you reach the airport terminal. So yeah, it was quite simple. And one thing we always felt was the public transport system in Austria. It's a lot more intuitive compared to the public transport systems that we saw in Germany in general. Though the prices in Germany were a lot cheaper, you need to get the hook of it to kind of really understand the German public transport systems in terms of the numbering and the tracks and all of that. But Vienna, it was a breeze. Entire Austria, it was a breeze. So that's pretty much about it, and I believe I've helped you in planning your vacation if you're doing a vacation. And thank you for watching, and hope to see you later. Thank you. Take care and bye-bye.